Today I am going to start Plato. Plato was the philosopher. He was born on 427 BC and died in 348 BC. At the outset, we have to see his life and works. Plato was born in Athens, Greece. His real name was Aristocles. He was an excellent athlete as a youth. He was nicknamed Plato, which means broad-shouldered. He was a Greek philosopher and he was the celebrated student of the Greek philosopher Socrates and was deeply influenced by his ideas. The 4th century BC was an age of critical inquiry and analysis. Plato's chief interest was philosophical investigations. His literary critical observations do not find in any single book. They are found in several of his dialogues, more particularly in Ion, Cratylus, Protagoras, Gorgias, Symposium, Republic, Phaedrus, and Law. Plato's ideas influenced the greatest thinkers in the Western world. One of his greatest pupils was the Greek philosopher Aristotle. Plato thought deeply about all the major subjects and concerned mankind. The questions he asked and answers he suggested are still very meaningful to us today. Plato wrote down his ideas in the form of dialogues or discussion between people. In the most of these dialogues, Socrates is the chief speaker. He is portrayed as the teacher. The dialogues explain Plato's ideas on subjects such as politics, law, science, education, art, and the nature of knowledge. The Republic is his well-known work in the form of dialogues. In it, he describes his ideal or perfect government. He says that the rulers would be philosophers. Theory of ideas. Plato's thoughts on art are very important. They form his theory of ideas. It is discussed in the Republic. In it, he says, ideas are the ultimate reality. Things are given shape as they are seen in the ideas. For example, a painter paints a picture of a tree. As he sees its image in the ideas, so the idea of everything is its original pattern and the things itself is copy. A copy falls short of the original. It is once removed from reality. Literature, painting, sculpture are the types of art. The art produces things as mere pastime. In literature, the words, in painting, the color, in sculpture, the stone is used to reproduce things. Thus, art merely copies a copy. It is twice removed from reality. The things are the imperfect copies of ideas. Again, the copying of the things in art is more imperfect. They take men away from the reality rather than towards it. So Plato says the art or the production of art cannot mold character nor help the welfare of the state. He feels art is more dangerous to the individual and society. However, Plato admitted the power of art to do well. He said it develops a love for beauty and everything noble in character and life. Particularly, we have to see about what are Plato's observations or objections against poetry. Plato was a great Greek philosopher and literary critic. In the Ion and Republic, he had expressed his views on poetic expression and imitation. Plato's aim of literary criticism is purely utilitarian. He wants to educate the youth and form them good citizens of his ideal state. Plato's main concern is the good of the individual and the state. It is from this practical point of view that he judges poetry and finds faults and wants. Hence, he attacks poetry on as poetic inspiration, the emotional appeal of poetry, poetry's non-moral character, intellectual ground, and utilitarian ground. As far as the poetic inspiration is concerned, poetry is an outcome of inspiration. It is not the work of deep thinking or reason. So, we cannot believe in what is told by the poet. Poetry cannot take the place of philosophy. So, it is unable to make the individual a better citizen and the ideal state. So, Plato says there should not be the poet in the ideal commonwealth nation. As far as the emotional appeal of poetry is concerned, Plato criticizes poetry on emotional grounds. He says that poetry has certain weaknesses which are unsuitable for the right and balanced development of the personality of the youth. Those weaknesses are as poets are divinely inspired. It means that they do not compose poetry as craft. There is some impulse, a mysterious and non-rational urge in their personality. The inspiration makes them to write at that moment, so that they say, write in concern and unreadable. So poets should not be believed. They are liars. Poets cannot often themselves explain what they write because they have written that poetry in their non-rational urge. All poetry such as epic, tragedy, comedy is imitative. It is an imitation, wholly or partially. Plato regarded imitative poetry as harmful, evil, and ruinous. The readers of poetry try to find themselves in the character of poetry. It is very unhealthy. It weakens their character and personality. Imitation mars one's personality. For example, one who imitates a female part tends to grow effeminate as it is womanish. In poetry, reason is kept aside and importance is given to emotion. So poetry has weakening effect on human personality. Plato condemns poetry in Republic. He says that poets feed and water the passions instead of drying them up. They follow the emotions to rule instead of ruling them. They allow the emotions to rule. They ought to be ruled with a view to the happiness and virtue of mankind. The emotions of pity and fear should be restrained because the uncontrolled expressions of these emotions play a woman's part. Thus Plato opposed not to the violent or antisocial emotions but to all emotions such as poetry is non-moral character. On the moral grounds, he attacks poetry as follows. Poetry is not helpful to social morality because the poets pander to the popular taste. They narrate tales of man's pleasant vices. It demoralizes society. Poets tell lies about the gods. They describe gods and heroes as corrupt, immoral, and dishonest. Even Homer had painted gods as the subjects to all the faults and vices of common men. It causes bad effect on the public morality. It creates disrespect for God in the minds of republic. So Plato insists Such work, like Homer, must not be prescribed for school study for this reason. They imitate the vices of God and create heroes. They fashion their own conduct on what they read. So, philosophy alone is the proper subject of study. The poets and dramatists appeal to the baser instincts, bad things, and sensational, gaudy things of men. There is bad effect on the old aristocracy and national well-being. Such literature advocating the immorality corrupts both the citizen and the state. Intellectual ground. Poet Poet's intellectual ground. Plato attacks poetry on intellectual ground as well. He says the poets have no knowledge of truth because they imitate appearance and not the truth of things. They are like painters. The poets cannot see the world of ideal reality, where concepts like truth, virtue, and beauty exist. Poetry is thrice removed from reality. It can tell us nothing about the reality. Poetry is the product of futile ignorance. The poet imitates things without knowing them. Plato writes, there are three arts which are concerned with all things. One which uses another, which makes, and a third which imitates them. The poet stands the lowest. He doesn't use to make it, he only imitates it. So poetry can serve no useful practical purpose. So it must but the part of school syllabus. Thus, Plato attacks poetry on intellectual, emotional, utilitarian, and moral grounds. He points out its uselessness and its corrupting influence. He ends his charges against poetry by saying that in an ideal state, no poetry should be admitted. The poet should be banished from his ideal state. Plato's views on function of poetry. Plato is the first conscious literary critic who has put his ideas in the systematic way in his dialogues. When he talked about the function of poetry, he thought of good citizen and ideal state. He wanted that poetry should help the youth to become a good citizen of the ideal nation. According to Plato, poet is a good artist only if he is a good teacher. To teach or to preach should be the prime function of poetry. He cannot think of mere pleasure as the function of poetry. In fact, he cannot imagine of art without its moral. Poetry should be moralistic. Truth is the test of poetry. It should contribute to the knowledge of virtue. Plato opines that only then poetry could mould character and promote the interest of the state. Pleasure in literature has the lowest value. In Plato's scale of function of poetry, morals have the highest rank in his scale of the function of poetry. According to him, the poetic truth must be the highest truth, ideal form of justice, goodness, beauty, and like. Plato's observations on drama. When we study about the function of poetry and Plato's observations on poetry, then we have to study about Plato's observations or his views on drama. All the observations of Plato about poetry are also applicable to drama, because drama, like poetry, is also an imitative art. It is an emotional appeal and product of inspiration. In addition to it, there are some other views of Plato which are related to drama only. They are discussed by Plato in his book 10 of Republic. Especially, he has talked of drama's appeal to baser instincts, its demoralizing effect on the characters and tragic comic pleasure in drama. They can be discussed as follows. Plato's main and severe objection against drama is that it arouses baser instincts in the audience. People get easily affected by the presentation of baser instincts such as pride, lust, treachery. Though some dramas present noble character, the people are more inclined to bad characters. So Plato condemns all such plays which produce bad taste and present immoral rogues which will mar his good citizen and ideal state. Plato says that the success of drama is decided by the approval or disapproval of the varied audience. So, the dramatist tries to please all the sorts of people. He introduces the quarrels and lamentations in tragedy and an imitation of thunder and cries of beasts in comedy. This arouses the baser instincts or evils in people. It develops the bad taste and lack of discipline in people. So Plato is against such plays. Sometimes drama reacts unfavorably on the actors themselves because drama is to be staged. When a certain actor plays the role of clowns, knaves, criminals, and villains constantly, these roles make him evil in his own life. Those bad qualities become the part of his nature. There is demoralizing effect of such roles of bad people of the actor themselves. Sometimes the actors are benefited when they play the role of men of courage, wisdom, and virtue. But there is less impact of such noble roles in the actor because it is said that man is lured more by gold than sermon. Plato says the witnessing of tragedy and comedy arouses pleasure in spectators. The question, what is it in painful scene that causes pleasure, is very important. Plato says human nature is a mixture of varied feelings: anger, envy, fear, grief, and others. Though these feelings are painful, they give pleasure when they are in excess. The pleasure we get from comedy is malicious. Further, Plato hits upon a profound truth. He says, no character can be comic unless he is lovable. Plato's views on drama are mostly similar to his views on poetry. So he refuses to admit the dramatist like the poet in his ideal state. Plato's observations on style. Plato lived in the age of oratory. He laid down a few principles of good speech in his Phaedrus. These principles are applicable to good writing also. These principles are his observations on style. The first principle is a foremost quality of good speech is a speaker should have thorough knowledge of the subject. He must be sure of what he has to say. The second principle is the speaker should be well versed in the art of speaking. His speech should impress the hearers. So, a speaker should have the knowledge of its rules and should do the constant practice in the work. The third principle is there should be a logical development in the speech. The speaker should put his thoughts upon his subject in a natural sequence. There should be a well beginning, well middle, and well end. In short, the good speech may form an organic whole. And the fourth principle is a good speaker should have the knowledge of human psychology. He should get into his hearer's heart and soul. One who follows the above principles can be a good speaker or a good writer as per Plato's views on it. Thanks for giving me the chance to present me on the occasion of this FDP. Thank you. Thank you once again.